Ali. With me is John Bamidele, who is interpreter on sign language. Let's take the headlines. Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip dies at 99. Federal government linking railway tracks to seaports, constructing more standard gauges. Also on the news, Governors Forum proposes scientific approach to boost nation's non-oil economy. Many thanks for joining us. The Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, has died at Windsor Castle, aged 99. Joyce Ometu takes us through the life of the longest-serving consort in the British history.
For 7 decades, he stood by Her Royal Majesty's side, always a step behind. Prince Philip was born into a Greek royal family and ended as Britain's longest-serving consort. Prince Philip headed hundreds of charities, founded programs that helped British school children participate in challenging outdoor adventures, and played a prominent part in raising his 4 children, including his eldest son, Prince Charles, the heir to the throne. Philip saw his sole role as providing support for his wife, who began her reign just as Britain retreated from empire and steered the monarchy through decades of declining social difference. Speaking outside 10 Downing Street, Prime Minister Boris Johnson noted the support Philip provided to the Queen, saying he helps to steer the royal family so that it remains an institution indisputably vital to the balance and happiness of the country's national life. The flag at Buckingham Palace was lowered to half-mast and a notice was posted on the gates following the announcement of the Duke's death. The Prince married Princess Elizabeth in 1947, 5 years before she became Queen. He had been by the Queen's side throughout her 69-year reign, the longest in British history. Joyce Ometu, NTA News.
And back home, President Muhammadu Buhari extends his condolences to Her Majesty, the Queen of England, over the death of her husband, Prince Philip, who passed on peacefully at the age of 99. Reacting to the death of the longest-serving Queen's consort, President Buhari said, "The death of the Duke of Edinburgh is the end of an era. Prince Philip was one of the greatest and publicly recognizable international figures whose contributions to the Commonwealth will be remembered for generations to come." According to the President, Prince Philip was a great man in his own right who made enormous contributions to philanthropic activities in charities, especially for wildlife conservation and youth development programs in more than 130 countries. President Buhari said pays tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh as a remarkable husband who had been happily married to the Queen since 1947, saying this is an impressive record for any marriage at any level. The President also commiserates with the governments of the United Kingdom, the members of the Commonwealth, for the sad loss of this royal and indeed global icon. The World Health Organization reports a shocking imbalance in global COVID-19 vaccine distribution and explosive eruption rocks volcano in Caribbean St. Vincent, prompting evacuation. Let's join Joseph Metu for details on these and more on Global Updates.
We begin with a report by the World Health Organization which reveals a shocking imbalance in the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines worldwide. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus, during a press briefing, said, on average, in high-income countries, almost 1 in 4 people has received a COVID-19 vaccine, while in low-income countries, it is 1 in more than 500. In a recent development, Europe's drug regulator said it is reviewing reports of rare blood clots in 4 people who received Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine and has expanded its probe into AstraZeneca's shots to include reports of a bleeding condition. The European Medicines Agency said of the 4 serious cases of clotting, 3 occurred in the United States during the rollout of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine, adding that one person had died and that one case was reported in a clinical trial. Meanwhile, Greece says it will limit the use of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine to people above age 30, following rare cases of blood clots, falling into line with other European countries. Global cases have now exceeded 134 million, with records of more than 2.9 million deaths, out of which Nigeria accounts for 163,581 cases in total. To other news, Mozambique is sending a medical team to identify the bodies of 12 people beheaded during terrorist attack on the northern gas exploration hub of Palma. A police official and an army spokesman said the victims appeared to be foreigners, although this has not been confirmed. In the meantime, a volcano has begun erupting on the eastern Caribbean island of St. Vincent. More than 16,000 residents have been evacuated and are being given temporary homes on cruise ships and in safer parts of the island. It is the first volcanic eruption on St. Vincent since 1979. And that's a global update. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thank you, Joyce. The linkage of all railway tracks to the seaports across the country is inching closer, with funds available to kickstart the construction of more standard and narrow gauge tracks. Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi said this while addressing the media on the activities of the ministry and its agencies. Abdullahi Mohammed reports.
It's the Ministry of Transportation's annual ministerial press briefing. So a quorum of all chief executives of the agencies under the ministry was reached, with the man handling the management of national information attending. The eyes of the cameras on the Minister of Transportation, and with his shoulders high, he began with the railway sector, where the services rendered at the Kaduna-Abuja, Lagos-Ibadan and Warri-Takpe standard gauge rail lines, he said, are saving costs and travel time.
To fly from either Benin or Warri will cost you 60,000 naira. Road transport will cost you about 20. But if you go by rail, 6,000 to get Abuja, 6,000. 2,500 from Warri to Itabe by rail, and then 3,500 by road transport, which is gotten at the rail station. The air-conditioned buses or air-conditioned taxis will take you to Abuja at 3,500. So if you put the 2,500 plus 2,500, 6,000, which is cheaper than any other means.
In the Nigeria Port Authority, NTA, NIMASA, the Shippers Council and several other agencies of the ministry are said to be success stories, and the Minister of Information says this solidifies the legacies of the Buhari-led administration.
I'm very proud to be associated with the Ministry of Transportation. Thank you very much.
The annual ministerial press briefing has been a platform where the ministry opens its doors to the media and other stakeholders in order to exchange ideas. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Now, 20 private universities cutting across the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria have been presented with operational licenses by the Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba. This is sequel to the approval by the Federal Executive Council in February 2012 for their creation to boost the carrying capacity of Nigerian universities.
And our older ones with a view to achieving a holistic and enviable university system.
The Federal Universities Commission admonished the approved institutions not to derail from their mandates, as quality assurance will not be compromised.
I assure you of the Commission's continued support and cooperation for the growth of all universities.
For us to come today and obtain a license means we have followed some guideline and procedure, and will continue to abide by the rule and regulation.
Lahi Musa Sulija reports that the 20 new universities bring to 99 privately owned universities out of 193 universities in Nigeria. And the 14th National Council on Environment meeting has ended in Abuja with a call to improve on proper hygiene in COVID-19 era. Minister of Environment Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar However, emphasized the need for more synergy between the federal and state governments to effectively address environmental challenges, including climate change and flooding.
There is urgent need to transform our food system, which has been the major factor in the issue of loss of biodiversity, fresh water, and deforestation, with its attendant effect on climate change. It is therefore expected that pertinent issues and climate-smart agriculture and agroecological practices that will aid rejuvenation of soil and forest covers, among others, are discussed during this meeting.
The ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic demonstrates the interrelationship between the environment and human health, as well as the need to strengthen essential environmental health services, knowledge and national capacities, all of which are fundamental to achieving universal health coverage.
The theme of the 14th National Council on Environment is Managing Emerging Environmental Challenges, Need for Strategic Approach to Sustainable Development in COVID-19 Era and Beyond. Now, a new Director General for the National Center for Women Development has been appointed. She is Dr. Asabe Veleta Bashir. A statement by the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talon, says the new DG is to assume office on Monday, 12th April 2021. Dr. Asabe Veleta Bashir is from Limankara community in Goza local government area of Borno State. She was elected into the National Assembly in 2015 to represent Goza, Dambo and Chibok Federal Constituency of Borno State. States in the north-central geopolitical zone of the country have resolved to declare emergency on issues of food security in the region. This was the outcome of a food summit in Lafia, Nasarawa State, towards ensuring food sufficiency. Aliyu Tijani Mohammed reports that the United Nations is fronting the conversation with the support of the federal government.
The climate condition of the North Central Zone makes it attractive for agricultural production, and stakeholders often refer to the zone as the food basket of the nation. However, climate change, security challenges, and inadequate farm implements are threatening food production in the zone. Governments of the 6 states in the zone and the FCT were in Lafia to deliberate on ways of mitigating impact of climate change, as well as how to tackle security challenges affecting agricultural production. Nasarawa State government said it remained committed to boosting food production in line with the Sustainable Development Goals to end hunger.
We must, as a matter of necessity, begin to address the ailing food system by initiating deliberate policies that will ensure that the most ordinary citizen in Nigeria is not deprived of the basic needs of food and adequate nutrition.
With challenges identified, United Nations promised to provide needed resources to boost food production in the zone.
This dialogue and summit will offer every one of us unprecedented opportunity for us to define the future of our food systems.
A workable action plan is expected at the end of the one-day summit. In Lafia, Aliyu Tijani Mohammed, NTA News.
And in other news, Nigeria's Governors Forum has proposed to leverage scientific approach and turn around the country's agricultural practice in line with the federal government's efforts to boost the nation's non-oil-based economy. The chairman of the forum and the governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, made this proposition when he led 5 other governors to Malam Alu Farms in Jigawa to see how the state is excelling in modern agricultural practice. Mohammed Musa Askira has details.
With a landmass of over 23,000 square kilometers, Jigawa is endowed with over 450,000 hectares of Adama land, out of which only 30,000 hectares are being cultivated all year round. To activate the remaining cultivable land, Governor Muhammadu Badru Abubakar has been calling for the participation of the elites in the agricultural practice. That was the reason the governor took the 5 visiting governors to Malam Alu Farm, established by the state's APC leader Farouk Adamu Aliyu in Birnin Kudu local government area of Jigawa State.
The farm is really integrated, and we cannot thank him enough for his patriotism, for his support to the policy of President Muhammad Buhari and that of Jigawa State government.
This is a demonstration effect of what our leader, Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, has always consistently preached to all of us, that we must grow what we eat and we must eat what we grow.
By the clarion call from Mr. President that we should all go back to farm. Secondly, by another clarion call by the governor of Jigawa State, whom I thank God and thank him for at least putting me through fertilizer production in this country. What we have done here is to demonstrate that Nigeria can be a great country, that if we all put our hands together, we can make it happen.
Impressed with the farm facilities, the governors called for the replication of such modern farming practice in Nigeria to realize the federal government's dream for achieving national food security. The visiting governors also inspected 50.3-meter-long national flag, the longest in the country, hoisted at the farm. Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. Let's now take a short break. Stay tuned as we have more reports when we return.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Intel 4G. Intel. Live more.
Now, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture says it is investigating cases of avian influenza, popularly known as bird flu, in the country. The H5 series of avian influenza was reported on the 29th of January this year in Kano, Bauchi and Plateau states, and later spread to Gombe, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Katsina and Niger. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control says 83 samples tested, out of which 7 were positive.
And we have recorded over 92,000 mortalities of poultry, and we depopulate over 329,000 birds from these affected farms. Major control measure that policy that we are applying in Nigeria is depopulation, decontamination, and compensation.
From the report we received earlier in the week, there have been confirmed 7 confirmed cases in humans. The nature of this current outbreak is we are dealing with 2 of the pathogenic zoonotic, highly pathogenic avian influenza, which is the H5N1 and H5N8. And from the report from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, I think the culprit for this current outbreak is the H5N1 from their report.
A House National Rapid Response Team from NCDC and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture have been deployed to Bauchi, Kano and Plateau states for further investigations. An emergency meeting of relevant government agencies with the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors over the ongoing industrial action by doctors is in progress. The meeting being overseen by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngigi, and the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Olorunimbe Mamora, intends to examine progress reports on agreements reached from last meeting. It is hoped concrete arrangements between the federal government and the association will be reached as the end, with views ending the ongoing industrial action and achieve better health ground for Nigerians. The Ariwa Consultative Forum has set up a committee to facilitate the safe rescue of the remaining 34 kidnapped Afaka students who are still in captivity. It says it does not support payment of ransom to bandits. This was at the end of the National Executive Council meeting of the forum in Kaduna Achari Maxwell gives us an update.
Farmers herders clashes, insurgency and banditry, including the recent kidnap of students of the College of Forestry and Agricultural Mechanization Afaka in Kaduna, top discussions at the meeting, with the forum's chairman and former Minister of Agriculture, Adu Ogbe, presiding. Parents of the kidnapped Afaka students who were still in captivity also came seeking for intervention towards the rescue of the remaining students. After submissions from various stakeholders, the forum calls for a holistic approach towards tackling the challenges bedeviling the North.
You go and hold a citizen and lock him up or carry him to a forest where he's helpless, and you put a price tag on his name that they must bring this money within a short time before he's released. It's not, we don't agree with such tactics. No religion, even in the whole of the North, whether Islam or Christianity or African religion, accepts this kind of thing. It's against the laws of God. So we are against it.
The forum reiterates its support for the unity and corporate existence of Nigeria. In Kaduna, Achari Maxwell, NTA News.
Still on security news, dead bodies of 11 troops of the Nigerian army comprising 1 officer and 10 soldiers initially declared missing have been found in Benue State. A statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Mohammed Yerima says a joint search and rescue team of Operation Wildstroke found the missing troops' dead bodies in Konshisha local government area of Benue State. The Nigerian army is appealing to the public to volunteer useful information that will support the ongoing efforts to arrest the perpetrators of the criminal act. President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled the demise of a close associate and exceptional scholar and administrator, Dr. Mahmoud Tukur, describing him as a true patriot and a nationalist. In a message to the family, friends and associates of the founding Vice-Chancellor of the Bayero University, Kano, President Buhari said, Dr. Mahmoud Tukur's service to the nation will be remembered by generations. He had a passion for a prosperous, economically strong and united Nigeria. He was a proud nationalist. The president, in his tribute, recalled that as Minister of Trade in his first coming as military head of state, Dr. Tukur introduced a lot of schemes that revived the local industry, boosted exports and gave real meaning and effect to import substitution in regenerating the indigenous manufacturing sector of the economy. He prayed Almighty Allah to give the family and the people of the state the strength to bear the loss. More support for motorsports in Nigeria as live football action returns on NTA this weekend. Details and sports updates.
Many thanks for joining us on Sports Update. I am Bade Adeleye. Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayedatiwa, says the Sunshine State will continue to support and promote motorsports in the country. He was speaking at the just concluded Ondo State Auto Rally.
We continue the way we are going and we're able to sustain this yearly Auto Rally. There are so many benefits that we accrue to the state. So much job will be created.
Hondo has been kind to us, having us here to perform what we are doing, introducing the motorsport to Ondo State. We hope to come back next year again.
To football now, the Premier League continues on NTA this weekend as Liverpool be all out for revenge, redemption and a return to home form when they welcome Aston Villa to Anfield, with the match live on NTA Network from 3 Saturday afternoon. In other fixtures, Crystal Palace entertain Chelsea on Saturday evening, with Tottenham and Manchester United trading tackles on Sunday. And finally, boxing promoter Edion says Nigerian-born British boxer Anthony Oluwafemi Joshua and Tyson Fury could defy extreme weather conditions to stage their much-talked-about fight in the Middle East in July. Joshua and Fury have reportedly signed contracts for an undisputed world heavyweight title fight, and Hearn believes getting a date and venue for the clash will be no issue. And that will be all on Sports Update. I am Bade Adeleye.
And up next is Saturday's weather outlook for Nigeria and some countries of the world. And that would be all for now. John Bamidele has been the interpreter on sign language, and I am Lami Ali. Remember, it's always connect with NTA and fight against rape and rapists.